10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Hello everybody, and thank you for joining me. That's right, this is Michael Voss, the Dragon of the Southern Tier, here with you once again on the Exceptional Conservative Network. And I'm happy to be here with you guys. And I'm always happy to be here with the Exceptional Conservative Network, with many of my friends who are on this channel, and I am so happy to be back again. I thank again Ken McClinton for giving me the opportunity to be with TECN TV. And we've been down to, we were down at CPAC 2019 this year. We had an exceptional time, and we are going to be back there again in 2020. People, keep an eye out for that. I want to thank Randy Perham and, oh God, there's such a big list of people that I could just run right down. Mary Brockman and, so many others. It's just too large a list. But I want to thank them all, everybody over at TECN, because I always enjoy being on this channel to be able to speak to people about so many things that are going on. And in particular, I know everyone right now is probably talking about The Hunt, the movie The Hunt, which is supposed to be now it's being described as a satire. It's a thriller, and I guess it's thrilling to members of Antifa, its target audience, to be able to go out there and get Trump supporters, which basically means anybody who is a Republican, and to tie them up and hunt them with rifles and kill them. What a great movie. And of course, this is coming from the same people who think that El Paso and Dayton, that these are people who are inspired by video games and how dangerous video games are and the violence of video games. And yet they're putting out a movie celebrating liberals trying to kill conservatives because they don't like conservatives because of feelings. And now it's considered a satire. And there's big mixed news on this, that it may get pulled, it may not get pulled in September. And quite honestly, I don't really care. Because I know many, many liberals, I know many progressives and conservatives and libertarians and Republicans, and I can tell you that the average person doesn't really care about this. That's not what they're interested in. That's not their issue, and that's not their dream. Now, if you talk about Antifa, or you're talking about progressive leaders of tomorrow, or Citizen Action, the fringe far left, the Democratic Socialists, they may have that dream, and Hollywood obviously loves that dream. They funded this movie. They're publishing this movie. But that doesn't mean that's what America likes or what America thinks, no matter how much they push it out there. So I'm really not going to spend more time on that subject because it's a dumb subject. It's a dumb movie, and anyone has the right to put out a bad movie. Look at The Room. No one should stop The Room from ever being made. No one should stop the Birdemic from being made. Sharknado, how many of them have there been? No one should stop that. But at the same time, we should also understand what is the root of what that is. And that is hate. And that's hate coming from liberals against conservatives. Because you don't see conservatives saying, hey, let's make a movie about us going after liberals, specifically because of their political ideology, and show people killing them because of that political ideology. You don't see conservatives making that kind of a movie. You don't see that message coming out of either independent or liberal film or Hollywood. No, you hear that from the liberal left in Hollywood. You hear that from liberals in the media. They are the ones who are very eager to have hate. They're very eager to try and say the El Paso shooting was about hate, even though the manifesto states it's not about President Trump. It's not about that, some kind of white nationalism. It's about his warped views and his support of gun control, and that he wasn't doing this because of President Trump. It's about Dayton, Ohio, where we see this individual, as I recall, as an Elizabeth Warren supporter. These are the people. What about the guy who went down to the congressional baseball field and shot all of the Republicans, specifically because there were Republicans there? Yeah, that's the hate. That's the reaction of the fringe left. When they get confronted with issues and their feelings get hurt, their only answer is, well, let's resort to violence. It's a tactic of Antifa all over the place, all across the country. When they get hurt in their feelings, when people say, we don't agree with you, their only answer is, well, let me resort to violence. That's wrong. That's wrong. And we should denounce it. So I'm not going to talk about the movie The Hunt because it's just not worth the time. It's hate. Let's call it what it is. It's a movie fueled on the idea of hate, and I don't support that. I don't believe in that. I don't think it will do well in America, and I don't think most Americans believe that. But I do believe there's a lot of hype behind it, and Hollywood thinks that's the way to go. And that's just sad. But let's move on to something that's really important, something that's really worth talking about, or at least a little bit more worth talking about. And that is, of course, I want to go over first to talk about Jeffrey Epstein. And everyone's talking about, did he get killed by the Clintons? It's another mysterious death. Suddenly, this man who was already on suicide watch suddenly gets taken off a suicide watch. Suddenly, he has his guards. One has been working 5 days and overtime. The other one was working overtime. They're forced to do overtime. The cameras suddenly don't work or weren't pointed towards the cell room. And shockingly, he somehow kills himself again. He tried the first time and then he did succeed. Is this a conspiracy? Everyone has a conspiracy. Is it really, really important? I don't think so. Now, do I believe that he may have been killed? Yeah, I think most people in America think he got killed so that he couldn't speak about all of the child molesters, the pedophiles that he palled around with. And that wasn't President Trump, that was President Clinton. Let's be very honest and clear about that. This guy was a pedophile. He had planes that he would take to do his pedophile trips, and he had many individuals that went with him, one of which very notably was President Bill Clinton. Does that make Bill Clinton a pedophile? I didn't say that, no. It does bring up a question about President Clinton, especially given his, shall we say, preferences and his actions and his long storied history of abuse of women that have been pushed aside because of his politics and his political power. Well, that's a conversation to have. That's a conversation America should have. But you know what? There's a better conversation that America should have. And that is, and you can see it in this meme, you've probably seen it before, let's focus on the 22 veterans that commit suicide every day. That's what I want to talk about. Yes, did Epstein die because the Clintons killed him or some other very famous, very rich individual, maybe some rich person died, wanted him dead rather, so that he couldn't tell about all of the people that were involved, all the rich, powerful people that he palled around with on these trips to promote pedophilia, which some in the Democratic Party want to even claim is not a vile act. Some of them want to call that a natural sexual preference, and they want to put it right next to the LGBTQ, that it should be part of that. I don't agree. I know many people who are gay. I know many people who are straight, people of religious and atheist beliefs that all agree with us that pedophilia isn't natural and it isn't a good thing and it shouldn't be excused. And so, yes, I hope that they continue the investigation. I hope they catch all of the pedophiles that were palling around with Jeffrey Epstein and that they all go to jail. But that isn't the big story that I would want to talk about. I want to talk about the fact that suicides, non-celebrity suicides, are happening every day. There are 22 veterans every day that are committing suicide, that are on the brink. They are on the edge. They need help. And we should reach out to them, and we should be talking about that. We should be trying to find ways to help them. I know under President Obama's administration, that was a non-discussed issue. President Obama didn't like talking about the VA and the problems there. He didn't want to talk about the waiting lists that got worse after he started getting involved. More people continued to die, and actually 50% more people were waiting for their doctors in the VA after President Obama promised he would fix the problem. And now we're not talking about it at all. It really hasn't been fixed. I know many veterans who are going through the VA and they need help. And I know many of them get frustrated with that and then they hurt themselves. And we need to stop that process. We need to be aware. We need to forget about these celebrities. Well, and I'm not trying to be unfair to them. It's not that I don't think they're human beings, that they have families and friends, and I console them, and I am sorry to hear of their losses. But there is no way that any, Bourdain or Epstein is more important in my world, in my life, and in any kind of reality, I believe, than the 22 veterans who are suffering every day, to the point that they believe there is no other answer than to kill themselves. So that's where I want to think about that. But I know a lot of people want to talk about the hunt. I know a lot of people want to talk about Epstein, and those are very good things to talk about, but I'm not going to talk about them any more than I already have, which is far too much. Instead, I want to turn to politics, because I know everyone's been focused on gun control. Everyone's focused on, and they should be, and they're talking about El Paso, and they're talking about Dayton. They're not talking about Chicago. They're not talking about Baltimore. They're not talking about Detroit. They're not talking about black on black crime. They're not talking about drugs and the promotion of drug culture that fuels many of these deaths. And we should be talking about them. And it's a very telling statement when every single one of the Democrat 2020 candidates won't even address this. And if you even look at the idea that there could be something wrong, that we should address black on black crime, that somehow drugs and poverty are issues that are sustained by many of the policies that Democrats are promoting right now, the Democratic Socialists in particular, well, when you say that, the first thing they say is racism. You can't say that because it's racist. I'm sorry, it's not racist to point out facts. It never was, it never will be. And deflecting the issue just to get a cheap emotional vote without actually helping anyone is wrong. It's just wrong. But I want to talk about the 2020 candidates. And I want to talk about one of the candidates in particular, because I think this is relevant and I think it's important. And let's see where they are. Right now, the 2020 candidates, as of the most recent polling, which is from August 1st through August 6th, show that Biden is at 30%. But he has been dipping again. And as we have predicted on this program many, many times, he is going to go down. He is done. He is not a presidential candidate. I don't care what Democrat you want to talk to. I don't care what program you're looking at. Everyone who says that Joe Biden's going to make it to the end and get the Democratic nomination, I think they are absolutely wrong. I've thought they were wrong since October of 2018. I continue to think they're wrong because he is an old, white, rich male, and I'm going to get into his problems very quickly because his problems are the core of the Democratic problems, the Democratic Party. AOC is a big problem. She's the fringe. She's the next issue. Her and Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib, they're the growing issue. But the real problem? No, the real problem is people like Joe Biden. And I'll explain. But he's at 30%. Elizabeth Warren has moved up to second place which isn't so much her moving up as Bernie Sanders moving down. She's been roughly around 12, 15%. She's moved herself up to 16.5%. And Bernie Sanders has fallen and continues to fall. He's at 16.5%. Kamala Harris, don't count her out. She's over at 8.3%. And I think that that's the real race amongst Democrats, those four candidates. And I believe that it's going to be a split between Elizabeth Warren and Kamala Harris, that you're going to see those two are going to be the two who at the end of the day are going to be the candidates, and they're going to split president and vice president. And they're going to present an all-woman front against the evil, vile, President Trump, who's a misogynist. And they're going to claim, the gender card. They're going to claim the race card. President Trump can't say anything about them because they're women of color. Although Elizabeth Warren, I don't know how she's a woman of color. She's about as Native American Indian as I am Samoan. 1,024th Native American Indian doesn't make you American Indian. But, she's made an entire career off of that. She has made tons of money, hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, Elizabeth Warren, on teaching classes that she would never have had the opportunity to do, except she claimed to be a Native American Indian and got a lot of benefits for it, which I would like to see her pay back. But she isn't. And she won't. She wants free college for everyone so that you can pay for it, but she won't pay for all the benefits she stole from some American Native Indian that could have had a spot that she took away. And that's something we should think about. But then rounding out the wannabes is Pete Buttigieg, Mayor Pete, as they like to call him. He's his only real claim to fame being gay. Beto O'Rourke, a fake Hispanic, Robert O'Rourke, who so hates being white that he goes by an Hispanic name and speaks Spanish in debates so that people will think that he's Hispanic instead of thinking of him as what he was born, white. There's an intrinsic problem with the Democratic Party. You can't be yourself. You have to be something else, something that's more important, something that's better, that's different, that's popular, that's in favor. Why? If he's a good politician, then he's a good politician, whether he's white, Hispanic, or anything else. The problem is he's not a good politician, and that's why he lost to the guy who lost to President Trump. We got Cory Booker at 2%, where he's been essentially since the first day he announced and has not moved. And he's just hanging out there, gathering up more money from black voters, black Democrats who are saying, hey, there's a black person in this race we've got to support. Whether or not they're good doesn't matter. Got to support. It's kind of like, what was that? Soul Plane, the movie, one of the worst movies ever created in life. Stupid premise, stupid movie, but it was a black film featuring black stars. And so have to support that because it's black. And that's what black people do, right? I don't know why, but yes, it is. And the quality doesn't matter. It's just because they're black. And I mean, if we're going to call it what it is, that's what it is. That's the culture right now. So Cory Booker's hanging on with 2% because of that. Then you get to Gabbard, Yang, an Asian who can't do math, who thinks that $3.1 trillion will magically appear from somewhere. And the rest of them. Well, out of that group, and the rest of them just don't even matter. Kirsten Gillibrand, de Blasio, I mean, they don't matter. Inslee, Williamson, you don't know who they are, and there's absolutely no reason why you should know who they are. They're useless. But let's talk about Joe Biden. Because, he's such a mess. That man is a mess. And I'm going to go right to his words. I want to go to the words of Joe Biden directly, because I think it's important that we hear what he has to say. Here it comes.
We have this notion that somehow if you're poor, you cannot do it. Mm-hmm. Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids. Wealthy kids, black kids, Asian kids.
Okay, let me stop that right there. It took 12 seconds. And I want you to, I'm going to play this again. I'm going to go back and I'm going to play this again from the beginning because I want you to hear exactly what he said there. It's very important.
We have this notion that somehow if you're poor, you cannot do it. Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids. Wealthy kids, black kids, Asian kids. No, I really mean it, but think how we think about it. We think, no, we're going to dumb it down.
Okay, stop right there. So let's really understand what he's talking about. Joe Biden just made a racial statement, a statement as racist as any one of the others that Democrats claim are coming out of the Trump administration and anyone who disagrees with them. Claims that would destroy any other candidate and any other politician. He just equated being poor with being a person of color. And he did that very clearly when he said, poor people are just as bright as white people. And then he stopped. And then he caught himself and realized, because he's a polished politician, he's been doing politics for over 30 years. He suddenly realized, wait a minute, that didn't sound right. That's not going to go well. I've got to cover that up. You know, he throws in there black kids and Asian kids, and he's throwing in things to try and cover that he just said poor people are people of color, which is stupid. That is just outright stupid. There is a black middle class. There is a Hispanic middle class. There is an Asian middle class, and all of them have an upper class as well. And people do well. There are black doctors. There are black lawyers. There are black everything. And Hispanic as well. Business owners, many of them. And many of them do very, very well, thank you very much. Many of them are carpenters and plumbers and electricians, make very good livings. Nothing wrong with that. Brokers, you name it. But somehow, Joe Biden equates being poor with being black. And I can't blame him because that's what the culture, that's what the media believes. Whenever you are seeing something on CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, all of the media channels, whenever they're equating something about poverty, they're showing you people who are black. You see jobless claims go up. They're going to show you a line somewhere in America, and most of the people there are going to be black. Happens every time. But what is that racist? Well, yeah, the way he said it, yes, it is. Because he's making a direct correlation to someone's ability to earn and have wealth by their color of their skin. And he's the front runner of the Democratic Party. And this isn't the first time he's made statements like this. You ever look up, and please search this yourself, look at what he had to say about 7-Elevens and taxi drivers and their ethnicity. Race and someone's social status and their economic status, for Joe Biden, they're very much intertwined. This is the moderate voice of the Democratic Party. A voice that believes that race is intrinsically connected to someone's social status and their economic status. And this is what the Democrats say is one of the leading voices of America. This is what they believe should be in office, that they elected in office in the first place. Really? And I don't get that. And it's not like he just said that. And it's not just that he's pitching this idea. Look who he's pitching the idea to. I want you to see this. I mean, really, pay attention to the details here, folks, because it's important. Who's in the background of when he's speaking? He's speaking to the Asian and Latino Coalition, PAC. You remember who's upset about PACs? Democrats. They want to get rid of the PACs. Remember, they said that there shouldn't be PACs, that they don't want PAC money in races. He's talking to a PAC. He's there trying to get money from a PAC. So, political action group, by the way. PAC means political action group, which Democrats oppose, except when they give them money. So he's over there trying to get money from an organization that Democrats say shouldn't exist. And then he's telling that organization, which are Asians and Latinos, that black people are poor, that people of color are poor, and that they're as good as anyone else. And you know what? It's one of those statements that I always get upset about because it's inherently racist. If I am equal to you, then you don't need to tell me I'm as good as. I'm as smart as, well, you speak white. Speak English. If I speak English, I speak English. Whether you're white, black, Hispanic, Asian, anything else under the sun, guess what? There's no race connected to that. There is no component that requires you to look at my skin tone to say, I can speak English well. That's my native language. Of course, I should be able to speak English well. Many people don't. White, black, Hispanic, Asian, doesn't really matter. They don't. But that's not the thing we should be taking away. We should be taking away the thought that why is he and the Democratic Party connecting race? Because they want something. They want people to be impoverished. They want them to believe that their lives are impoverished. Even if you're doing well, the message is you could have been doing better if you were white. Therefore, you should vote for me so that I can make your life better. That is the message behind all of this. You could be better off if you were white. Since you're not, I know that. I'm going to help you because you are intrinsically incapable of doing that yourself. This is the Tarzan example. You know, here comes the white savior to help those poor people who can't help themselves, those impoverished people who can't help themselves, those dumb brutes who can't help themselves, which would be people of color. Whether you're Asian, Latino, black, doesn't matter. Why do people let this happen? Why do we not all stand up and say, that's stupid? And you know what? Get out of politics. Because you can't understand that race has nothing to do with economic or social status. More importantly, you don't deserve to gain votes using that as a crutch to keep you going. That emotional, I don't have the word for it, cheapness, insult, should just has no place. Has no place in America. Whether you're a Republican, a conservative, libertarian, a Democrat, if you're a progressive, that has no place in America. Stop saying those things. But that's not the way it works. Not in the world of Democrats and politics, not in the world of progressives. No. They believe that is the best. And by the way, if you think that I tampered with that in any way, that's from Time. That's from Time Magazine. So if you think Time Magazine is altering the video, that's on you. I didn't alter it. But I wanted you to hear his words in context. He said that and then tried to cover it up. Because, oops, he told you the truth. That Democratic policies are based on the idea that because of your skin color, you are not capable of being able to do things. And you need these politicians to make up for it, that they will make your life better because you cannot. That is the core thought. And let's look at what else he had to say. And this is while he was out campaigning. And we have in Iowa. And this is from C-SPAN, in case you think that I might be somehow chopping it up. You can see it this is from the Iowa State Fair, Joe Biden speaking this weekend.
Period. That's not hyperbole. We have never failed when we're together. And ladies and gentlemen, it's time to get up. Everybody knows who Donald Trump is.
Oops.
Even his supporters know who he is.
Wait a minute. I want it from the beginning. Skip
Period. That's not hyperbole. We have never.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
Never failed when we're together. And ladies and gentlemen, it's time to get up. Everybody knows who Donald Trump is.
Come on. Keep going.
Even his supporters know who he is. We got to let them know who we are. We choose unity over division. We choose science over fiction. We choose truth over facts.
Stop. Let me play that again, because that's really, really important there. Let's play that again. Go ahead, play.
We choose science over fiction. We choose truth over facts.
Stop. Where have you heard that before? They choose truth over facts. Actually, let me let play all the way out so that you can hear the rest of it, because I think it's important. Go ahead.
And so, folks,
Oh, hold on.
period. That's not hyperbole. We have never, never, never failed when we're together. And ladies and gentlemen, it's time to get up. Everybody knows who Donald Trump is, even his supporters.
Come on. All right, well, it's having a problem with the playback. But, I mean, you heard his own words. Truth over facts. That's what he believes in. Truth over facts. Science over fiction. Yeah, sounds good. Truth over facts. Excuse me, what? What are you talking about? Have you been listening to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez too much? Because she was the champion of the idea that she wants to be morally right rather than truth or facts or details. Let's think about that for a second. What is this party? This is the Democratic Party? This is the guy, I keep doing that. This is the guy who's leading the Democratic Party, that he is the moderate voice of the Democratic Party. Does that sound like a moderate to you? Someone who says that the truth doesn't matter, facts, that they want to go with facts over truth. What is that supposed to even mean? That is the most ignorant statement I've ever heard. It goes right along with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Makes no sense whatsoever. And you have to wonder, they're saying something that makes no sense. What are they really trying to get at? What is the point they're really trying to make? What are they really trying to get out to you? That they don't care about the truth. They don't care about facts. They care about emotions. They care about emotions so much that they will use the emotions to get what they want, whether it costs you or not. They're playing with the words. And they're playing with the words to get an emotional reaction. You're poor, you're just as good as a white person. Directly talking to people of color. And hiding the fact that, hey, you're not good enough to do this on your own. You're not good enough to do this in your own life. So I'll take care of it for you. And you don't have to worry about this is true or not. You don't have to worry about the facts or not, because I have the emotion. And just worry about the emotion. I'll take care of the facts because you're not good enough. I mean, that's the message between the two things. When you understand it, put it together. He's saying truth, facts, they don't matter. All that matters is that you feel like I am the person. This is Joe Biden speaking. I'm paraphrasing a thought from him. That, all you have to think is that Joe Biden is the answer to your problems, that the Democratic Party is the answer to your problems, because you are incapable of handling those problems yourself. And so you just need to give them your life, give them your rights, give them your power as an American citizen, and they will take care of you because you can't do it yourself. And you don't have to think about it. You don't need to know the facts. You don't need to know the details. All you have to have is the emotion. And that's why they can get away with doing things like when they spoke about, is it racist to talk about Baltimore? Remember, I did that article. You can see it over at the Voss Political Commentary. And that was, about Elijah Cummings. And it was racist to talk about Baltimore and mention that Baltimore is one of the most crime-ridden, violent places in the United States, as is Chicago, as is Detroit. It's like saying that, San Francisco is one of the filthiest places in the United States because of all the human feces that are littering the entire place. Is that racist? Does that mean that white people are suddenly bad? No, because guess what? White people and black people and people of all colors are in San Francisco. Anyone who would say it's because all the people are white in San Francisco would be labeled a racist, as they should. But to say that it's filled with human feces, period, stop, that's a factual statement. If I say that there's crime in Baltimore, if there's corruption in Baltimore, these are factual statements. But remember the moderate view of the Democratic Party, as proposed by Joe Biden, is that you are too stupid to understand this. You are incapable of being able to correct this. Give your power to the Democratic Party. People like Elijah Cummings. People like Elijah Cummings, who lives a very good life, and yet his district is impoverished, and ridden with crime. And then you have, the supporters of the Democratic Party. We have people like Bette Midler, who is so focused on race that she's talking about the big issue, black ground. Ooh, there are black people who aren't doing what she would like them to do. And so she's very upset about that. Should we really be focused on that? No, not at all. No. Because black people can't possibly do that unless they are being paid. Yeah, because black people, again, it goes back to the main theme of the Democratic Party. Black people, people of color, they can't have independent thoughts because they can't do things on their own. They need the Democratic Party, and in particular the elites of the Democratic Party, to make decisions for them because they're not capable. You see that in Bette Midler. You see that in Joe Biden. You hear that in Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. You hear this as a theme of the Democratic Party, no matter how radical or not. And I'm not talking about the people, not rank and file Democrats. This is their leadership. I don't know. Maybe people think I'm wrong. Maybe you think I'm out of my mind. Maybe you think I've missed it, that I'm just not understanding this issue. I truly think I am understanding it quite well. But maybe not everyone agrees with that. That's fine. You don't have to. But I am pointing it out because I think it's important. Now, my throat's a little dry, and it's been a little while since I've gone this long on an idea. So I'm going to take a quick break, and we're going to come right back. And then I'm going to go into another big issue, because I want you to think about this over the break. The Democratic Party is saying, if you're a person of color, you are not capable of being able to lift up yourself, to lift up your life and your status in life without giving everything to the Democratic Party. Really think about that. Bette Midler. Listen to all the Democrats. Bette Midler, you listen to all of the 2020 Democrats. You can only be successful if you give them everything and deny everything about yourself. Beto O'Rourke is a fake Hispanic because being himself is not good enough. And he has success in the Democratic Party because of that. Elizabeth Warren can't be white. She has to be a Native American Indian because she can't have success for herself. She had to give over her power. She has to pretend to be something else. Democrats believe that the Democratic Party believes that if you claim to be one of 32 genders, they made up 30 genders so that you can give up and say, hey, Democratic Party, I want to be a cat. Here's my power. Go support me. Go out there and defend me. This is a terrifying thought for America, but I'm going to take a quick break, and then I'm going to come back because I want to talk about the Pan Am Games, and I'll be right back in just a second.
On my way to NY, red out to the city. Oh yeah, getting rid of your other guys. The night you're on mine, I call my ride, then I come by. Then I met you outside. You say come inside, and I know what we're going for. You take me to the living room, watch a flicker too, have a sip or two, yeah. And you say, what do you wanna get into when you already knew that? I'm down for whatever. But I wonder, do you wanna love me and we just fucking, can I really trust it? Cause every time we touch and I've been feeling something like this ain't nothing. Baby, why you blushing? Should we make it public? Am I just bugging? Not at all. You tell me don't go chasing those waterfalls. No. You tell me don't go chasing those waterfalls. No. You tell me don't go chasing those waterfalls. Yeah, don't you go chasing on no. Yeah, party on the south side and you know I need you with me. Come through. Why you're so surprised that I asked you to ride? It just felt right. When you're by my side at the time of my life, and you don't have to lie if there ain't nothing here for you. I wonder what you're thinking now. If you think about it, if you're coming out, yeah. Just looking at your face, I couldn't say if you're really down with it. Oh, I'm so curious to know how you feel. That's when you say, can you keep it real? You wanna love me and we just fucking, can I really trust it? Cause every time we touch and I've been feeling something like this ain't nothing. Baby, why you blushing? Should we make it public? Am I just bugging? Not at all. You tell me don't go chasing those waterfalls. You wanna love me and we just fucking, can I really trust it? Cause every time we touch and I've been feeling something like this ain't nothing. Baby, why you blushing? Should we make it public? Am I just bugging? Not at all. You tell me don't go chasing those waterfalls. You tell me don't go chasing those waterfalls. You tell me don't go chasing those waterfalls.
Got my Carolina blues singing out this song. Another night out of another love song. Yeah, champagne overflowing in my cup till I'm all so gone. I've been working so hard, man, and that's my own. Got a GMC and I ride in the back of it. My boy, you pawn, I just fell in love with it. You be popping bottles so many, I can't do the math with it.
All you say is Mickey, man, just don't have a blast with it.
All right, folks. So you may have heard in the background some noise. That's my puppy, Khan. He's always around. He's a good little puppy. So in the last segment now, if I seem a little bit tired, I am. I'm doing this after doing a full day of work and then getting ready for the show and then actually presenting it. So if I seem a little tired, I am. It's been a full 6 days of work every day, and so here I am. But I do want to talk about this, and I want to talk about something else that I think is very important that we should also have a conversation about, and that's what's going on with our athletes in America, because that's the message we're sending out to the world. That's the message we're sending to our youth. I remember there was a comment by Michael Jordan one time. Michael Jordan said, someone asked him, Michael Jordan, you're always in suits every time. This is before NBA players were required to go out and have suits every time they were seen in the public during the season for basketball. And Michael Jordan was one of the people leading that charge. And he was asked, why do you always wear a suit whenever you're out in public, even when it's not the NBA season, even when you're not playing basketball, even now? And his answer was, well, that's because at any given day, I will open up that door from that hotel of wherever town I'm in, and some kid will see me for the first time, his idol, his hero. And what he sees is what he's going to emulate for the rest of his life. He's going to try and be what he sees me that morning or that day. And I want him to have the best image possible. I want him to reach for the skies. I'm paraphrasing what Michael Jordan said there, but it was along those lines. And I believe in that message that you want, especially for people who have the spotlight on them, public figures like Michael Jordan, Colin Kaepernick, Rapinoe, and so many others. All these athletes, these are people who are being isolated, that are being looked at in a very specific way by the up-and-coming culture, the up-and-coming students and kids, and even other adults. These are people who are idolized, and people want to be like them. And we really have to pay attention to what message they're putting out there, because this is the message that that next generation is going to pick up on. And I want you to understand, what are they picking up on? Well, they're picking up on things like Colin Kaepernick, who is against the American flag, that he killed the Betsy Ross flag and had so much power that Colin Kaepernick, who is black, was able to dictate the decisions of a multi-billion-dollar company, Nike. And I'm showing the Wall Street article right now. Nike nixes Betsy Ross flag, sneaker after Colin Kaepernick intervenes. Yeah, that was over by July 4th. Did we forget? No, didn't forget. And it's important not to forget that. Because the message that's being put out there is, yeah, this black man, this very powerful public figure, this athlete that kids are looking up to, doesn't like America and is willing to stop a patriotic image being put out there because he's going to claim it's racist. Not that Betsy Ross, a Quaker, was racist. Not that she had any connection to racism whatsoever, but because America was racist, because part of America had slavery, as did much of the world in that time. And even though there's slavery in the world right now. You know, a lot of people think, well, slavery ended when America ended slavery. No, it didn't. There's slaves in Africa right now, in Ethiopia. Boko Haram, one of the biggest groups of slavers in Africa right now. You don't hear anyone talking about that. You don't hear people in America talking about these Democrats, these liberals, these progressives, talking about ending slavery around the world. You don't hear them saying that. They're telling you that America is racist today because slavery exists in the past of America. What about the slavery that exists right now in the world? If you're so against slavery, why aren't you stepping up for that? Because I believe that Colin Kaepernick is getting paid to make sure that there is a theme here. Again, you're not capable of doing things yourself. You're downtrodden. You can't ever succeed because there were black people at one point in America that were slaves. And there was Jim Crow that followed after it. These are facts. That is true. And that you can't be successful because those things happened in the past. By the way, Colin Kaepernick, multimillionaire, dictating to a billion-dollar company, and they listen to him. But you can't be powerful as a black person. You can't be powerful as a person of color because companies won't listen to you, except Colin Kaepernick. Really? Where's the logic in this? And I bring him up because I also want to bring up someone else that was very influential and should be talked about. And we're talking about Rapinoe from the women's soccer, the U.S. women's soccer, after the U.S. women's soccer won the Women's World Cup. And she's very proud to totally disrespect the American flag. And we got into that in detail in that video and a couple of others. And we highlighted how disrespectful she is. And yet, remember, this is someone who young girls are looking up to. Someone who hates America enough that she won't even bother to put her hand over her heart and thank America. She's upset because gender politics. She wants more money. She wants more fame. She wants more power. Not because she deserves it, not because she earned it, just because she's saying that she's a woman. Much like Colin Kaepernick. Should have more power, should have more money because he's black. That's not a reason. That's not even close to a reason. That is probably the opposite of a reason. But these people are out there and it's working. Their message is getting through because we get to see that now at the Pan American Games, the Pan Am Games that just took place. This is an article from Time Magazine. 2 American athletes protest national anthem during the Pan Am Games in Peru. This is an August 11th, 2019 article. And they're talking about Race Embolden, a 26-year-old American fencer. Okay, an American fencer. And they're talking about U.S. hammer thrower Gwen Berry. Gwen Berry. Now, you don't know who these people are. And there's really no reason why you should. They're athletes. They're trying to be Olympic athletes. Fantastic. And I'm not saying they're good people or bad people. I don't know them. There's no reason why I should know them. They're not into politics or anything, but they've injected themselves into politics. And here's the thing that we need to take away from them. Listen to what they had to say about disrespecting America on an international stage. What did they have to say? What's the reason why someone who has just won acclaim and international attention and is being presented to children around the world and their national anthem is playing and they decide, well, I need to disrespect that national anthem? What reason would they have for that? Well, according to Race Embolden, by the way, he has a stupid name. Race? Really? Race Embolden, unless I'm mispronouncing it, but it's Race Embolden. What does he have to say for himself? He says that my pride has been cut short. His pride in America has been cut short by the multiple shortcomings of the country I hold so dear. Racism, gun control, mistreatment of immigrants, and a president who spreads hate are at the top of a long list. Okay, let me stop right there. Let's think about that. A fencer. What career path is a fencer? How many people get to live by fencing? This is not the Middle Ages. This is, the 21st century. He's a fencer. It's a career that goes nowhere. Maybe he gets to teach other kids how to fence. Yes, he gets to go to the Olympics. Fantastic. And he has no career path. That isn't a career path. Really isn't. He's a fencer. That's it. But he's a fencer who has now gotten international acclaim. Why? Because he's an American. Because he was able to live in America, to get a proper education, to get food, and to live a decent life well enough that they could pay for coaches to teach him how to fence, for his parents to decide, hey, you know what's a neat idea? Let me teach my kid fencing. And when they noticed that he was good at it, they decided to continue that process. Do you know what kids in other parts, in Peru, kids don't dream of becoming fencers. I don't care how good they are. Well, let me correct that. Almost none of the kids in Peru could ever dream of being a fencer. Almost all the kids in Peru will never have the opportunity that an American kid has of becoming an athlete and paid to be an athlete. You're not going to get that opportunity. But this guy did. Race Embolden did. And he's upset with his country because of racism. If he's so worried about racism, give up your spot and let a black man take it. Or a Hispanic or someone else. If you're so worried about it, run for politics. Give up the Olympics. If you're so worried about gun control, why don't you speak about Chicago, Detroit, Baltimore? Why don't you talk about the root cause that is causing the issue with guns and mass shootings? Why don't you deal with mental health issues? Because guess what? Without the gun control, without a gun behind every blade of grass, Another country would come in and take over America because we have too many resources. We have too many riches. We're a quality of life that is too high for the rest of the world to be ignored. He wants to talk about the mistreatment of immigrants. They're not immigrants. They're illegal aliens. That's the actual legal term. These are people who have broken the law, immigration law. They broke the law. USC 18, I forget the final part of it. But they broke the law, literally. And they are actively evading prosecution of the law. They are hardened criminals by definition. But it's bad to say that we don't want to have people who break the law enter our nation willy-nilly. That people say they don't want to pay and reward people for breaking the law. And he thinks that's a bad idea. Where do you think he got that idea from? Colin Kaepernick, maybe? Mary Rapinoe? Many of the other Democrats and socialists, like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, people who are focused on feelings, not facts. People like Joe Biden, who wants to put truth over facts. People who believe that if you're poor, you must be a person of color. And the only way you can succeed is by giving up your identity so that this politician can do it for you, because you're not good enough. And you never will be, because you're the wrong race. You're the wrong social economic class. This is what the kid wants to protest? He wants to protest the very people who are trying to subdue and subjugate the American people? I don't know. I disagree with that. I think that's stupid. I think that's wrong. And I hope that he doesn't go to the Olympics now, because he doesn't deserve to. If you want to be in politics, fantastic. The Olympics is out. Go and be a politician. That's what I truly believe. And as for Gwen Berry, who also has a similar statement, and she says that somebody has to talk about the things that are uncomfortable. Somebody has to talk about things that are too uncomfortable to talk about. Somebody has to stand for all the injustices that are going on in America, and a president who's making it worse. Wait a minute, Gwen, let me think about this for a second. Somebody has to stand for the injustices that are going on in America. The injustice of President Obama, a black president. You're talking about the injustices of Kamala Harris, a woman and a woman and a person of color who is running for president. Cory Booker, a man who is black, who is running for president. Both of them all three of them were senators of the United States, elected officials. Are you seriously telling me there's injustice? Women have had the ability to vote since the 1920s. Where's the injustice? Because I can tell you, let's go over to the Middle East, where women get stoned because they drove in a car without a man present. Let's go over to Africa, where people are killed because they're gay. Let's go around the world and look at the injustices that go on every day that do not go on every day here in America, and that you are so privileged to be an American, so lucky to be an American. And that's not a bad thing, to be lucky to be an American and live a quality of life so much superior to everyone else that literally millions of people are breaking the law. Millions of people are dying, or hundreds of thousands, maybe thousands, who are traveling thousands of miles, dragging their kids along with them, with no promise and no guarantee of food, clothing, or shelter, and the very real possibility of being sexually molested, and traveling through deserts just to get into this country to work illegally for less than the minimum wage. That's how bad our country is. Remember, our country, America, is so terrible that people are breaking into our country to be a part of it. That we are so unjust, people would rather travel thousands of miles through a desert with no guarantee of food, clothing, or shelter, and an imminent threat of sexual molestation, they would rather go through all of that to get to America because it is completely unjust. It is an unfair nation. And she needs to protest that because America is a terrible place. Well, tell me, Gwen, and race, please tell me, where do you guys think is better? Venezuela? North Korea? China? Where is it that you think is this ideal place that is better than America? And I'm not saying that America is perfect. It is not. I'm not saying there aren't race issues. There are. I'm not saying that there are imbalances. I am saying they exist. But I'm telling you that the best place on the planet with the most opportunity is the United States. Very simple. Because they wouldn't be able to do what they are doing. They wouldn't be able to be a hammer throw. What kind of career path is that? Track and field, I get it. Track and field, hammer throw, and what are you going to do for the rest of your life? What's your career path? How much money do you get for being an Olympic hammer thrower? Not a whole lot. I think there's a bunch of unemployment that's attached to that. But you have the ability to do this now because your nation is so great that people are willing to die to get here. That people are willing to travel in the worst of conditions voluntarily to come here. And you're telling me that this is a terrible nation? No, this is your feeling. You feel like that. Gwen feels like America. And I'm not saying that she doesn't believe it. I'm saying that she feels like she should be upset. And she feels like this is a bad place. And Race Imboden feels like he needs to make a statement because there's so many problems here. But they're not thinking about the facts that this is the greatest opportunity, land of opportunity, and that they couldn't get to where they are and be able to make this international statement if it weren't for the greatness of America. That they wouldn't be able to have a potential life after their careers or their hopeful careers as Olympic standouts. I mean, it seems very simple to me. Colin Kaepernick could never become a multimillionaire if he was in Buenos Aires, or if he was in Nigeria, or if he was in England. He's just not going to be that. He's just not going to have those opportunities. You're not going to see Mary Rapinoe. Women's football, it didn't exist until America created it. Or as Americans know it as, women's soccer. It didn't exist until America created it because America couldn't win in the men's soccer league. So we created an entirely new league internationally to give us an opportunity and to give women an opportunity. And she would never get that. The WNBA doesn't exist anywhere else. Women's basketball, only an American thing. Doesn't exist anywhere else. I don't know, maybe it's me, but I hear lots of opportunity that I'm talking about, but I don't hear them understanding it. Why? Because their heroes are telling them, well, it can't be. Because America must be terrible. It must be. Because they feel like it's got to be terrible. Because their lives could be better. Which goes back to what we're hearing from the Democratic Party, the moderate Democratic Party under Joe Biden, as I mentioned before. That view that says that because of your color of skin, you are at a disadvantage. And your life could be so much better if you were just white. And you know what? You will always be disadvantaged because of it. And you have to give the Democratic Party, Joe Biden, all of your power and all of your life and your decisions so that he or they can make your life better, because you can't do it on your own. And I reject that. I reject that completely. But that's the message. And we have these athletes, we have rappers and these entertainers that fill people's heads with this idea in so many subtle ways, and many ways not so subtle, Bette Midler, so that they get this idea that, oh, racism is rampant. No, racism was rampant in the 1950s, in the 1920s, in the 1800s. Yes, racism was rampant. Racism is not rampant in 2019. Gun control. Everyone's just dying. Well, if you live in Chicago and Detroit and Baltimore, yes, it is. Guess what? The rest of the country, not really. Wichita, Kansas, not really. Someone's going to say, well, what about Dayton, Ohio? Yeah, let's look at Dayton, Ohio. How many mass shootings happened there? How many murders happened there? They're not anywhere on the scale of Chicago, Detroit. Let's look at the big major, St. Louis. What about New Orleans? By the way, these are the top 5 places that are the most dangerous ones in the United States. Happen to be all Democratic-led cities with Democratic governments that have the most gun control possible. But the rest of the nation doesn't. Gee, what do you think is different? What is the difference there? Maybe when people don't accept that you are a horrible person just because of the color of your skin, that you are not lesser just because of the color of your skin, that you are just as capable no matter what the color of your skin, and that your power, especially in politics, is never something you need to give up, nor should you ever be asked to do so, and that anyone who is doing that, you should reject. Because their interest is not your best interest if they're saying, you can't do it without me. That's what I believe. Maybe you think I'm wrong. Maybe you think I got it completely off. Maybe. Maybe you think America's absolutely terrible. And I would suggest to you, that's fantastic. You can think I'm wrong. And you can think it's absolutely terrible. And I would suggest go to any other country that you think is such a great place, like Venezuela. Bernie Sanders was recommending Americans to go down to Venezuela 4 years ago. Go on down to Venezuela, where the government is actively killing people because it removed the ability of individuals to have firearms. They cannot defend themselves, and the government has killed 5,000 of its own people. And I would suggest to you, go down to Venezuela and see how well you can do living your life there and how much of a success you can have there, because it's not the same as here. Go to Cuba, go to China, North Korea, the Middle East. See how well you're going to be received there. See how many opportunities you get there. See how many opportunities the people have there. Then compare it to America. And I think you'll understand that you should appreciate America a little bit more. I'm really tired of watching these athletes. These are thousands of people out of a country of hundreds of millions of people given opportunities. They have been blessed with talent. They've been given opportunity after opportunity. They have risen above and beyond most people in the world. And they have opportunities that are before them, and they are willing to throw that away because their feelings, not facts, their feelings are not being satisfied. You can't be that entitled. You can't be that dumb. I don't know. They upset me. But folks, I've been on for a while. It's been a long day. I've been working really hard. I hope you've enjoyed it, or at least you found it interesting. If you think I'm wrong, please contact me. You have my Twitter. It's MV Consult on Twitter. You can reach me on No Soundbites Allowed on Facebook. You can reach me. My name is Michael Voss. And send me your messages. Tell me where you thought I'm right, I'm wrong. You'll be able to comment on YouTube as well and let me know what you think. And I want to thank everyone over at TECN, the Exceptional Conservative Network, for having me on today. I know it was late. I hope everyone enjoys it. And I will be back again very, very soon. Everyone, have a great night. And let's start the Monday in a great way. Thank you.